All right, welcome everybody. We're excited for this one. We're going to be talking about scaling CX without adding a single seat. This is inside some of the playbooks of modern companies doing it. To do that, we brought on my friend, used to be esteemed colleague, Sam Chandler. Sam, thanks for joining. How are you?
I am so good. I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Sam and I go not super far back, but a decent way back.
It feels like it.
She
In our
joined us.
souls, we do.
She joined us at Kustomer, a great get, actually. We had some amazing hires. Sam was one of them. But previous to that, she was on, I was trying to think of a nice way to talk about Zen. It was Zendesk, right? You were coming from Zendesk, right?
I was.
Yes.
I was coming from Zendesk by way of being a CX leader myself, and that's kind of how I got into this world, and here we are today.
Yeah, and she runs kind of a cool play here because she's real into the space of kind of customer service and how to do it and the right way to do it. But she also holds that hat. She's been running teams that ultimately help organizations, at Zendesk and now at Customer, kind of find their success in this ever-changing CX world. Am I getting that? That's kind of different, isn't it? You don't run into that many people that have kind of wear the thought leader hat and the practitioner hat.
Well, I appreciate that. That sounds very fancy in what I do, so I'm going to go with that. Yes, thank you. I wish that more people did that. Maybe that's what we're going to do today. Is we're going to kind of spread the word and get more people to think like that.
Well, that's what we'd like to do. So, that's probably good. Let's dive in to kind of the talk track. I mean, I'd love to just start at 100, super high level to start, Sam. Like,
Yeah.
you're obviously working with different clients. You're out speaking at different engagements. Like, give me kind of your quick take on what the heck is going on in Dodge right now. AI, CX, just give me your quick take.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because I think about it now versus rewinding about 3 to 5 years ago. And I would ask CX leaders, right when we were hearing words like chat GPT and like AI and putting it into CX, like, what are you all using it for? And it was really interesting, some of my startups, they were really interested in like trying it out. Let's see where we can, put this in, whether it's reducing headcount or just improving our visibility on things. But then, sometimes in the upper echelons of like the Fortune 500 companies, they were like, we have no use for this whatsoever. CX leaders, we aren't known necessarily for being early adopters of technology. We got to test it out a little bit at first. And it's been really interesting to see, fast forwarding a few years and realizing that like, this isn't necessarily a choice. This is kind of a thing that's happening, and you either get on the train or you don't. And
Yeah.
so I think right now, general consensus is everybody's trying to figure out how to do AI and what that actually means. Uh, and some are more successful than others. Some are just kind of, throwing chat GPT at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Which
And
is
then
not, sometimes that's not a bad place. You got to start somewhere. Okay.
sometimes
Yep.
you
Got
gotta
it.
start, and I applaud that. But yeah, the ones that concern me are the ones that are kind of sticking their head in the sand, and they're saying like, oh well, surely we still have to have humans in the mix. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be
Mm,
fine. And
mm.
those are the folks that kind of worry me a little bit because this is happening.
Yeah, yeah. What? Okay, let's dive into this a little bit. So you mentioned the human in the mix and the automation and AI. Like, how are you coaching companies? How are you seeing companies start to even navigate that? Just people and AI. Like, how do they fit? What's going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of kind of that mix and finding the right balance, the word I keep coming back to is trust.
Yeah.
So, as I'm sitting and who doesn't just nerd out and talk about AI? Why not?
Well, I know
But
you and I do, but I don't know about the listeners here. I mean, they
of
might have a real
course.
life. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're like going to the movies, hang out with their family. I'm
Oh,
just,
the movies. Yeah, I've heard of
what
those.
is
I've heard of those.
that? But yeah, they so I hear them talking about, whether their AI initiatives are working, whether they're not. And the thing that keeps resonating is this word of trust.
Mm,
And a lot of CX leaders, we own the relationships, and that is very sacred. And so, to think like we're going to let a robot talk to these customers, are you kidding me?
mm,
They don't know what's going on. And
yeah.
a lot of times they're right. And it's because, if you think about these AI initiatives, they kind of sprung out of what we were just talking about, this fear of like, I guess I got to do something. And so
Okay.
there's not really a plan. That's where I see most companies kind of start to stumble a little bit, is when you don't have a plan and then you release these things into the wild, and you either think that they're supposed to cure cancer and do your laundry and make you breakfast, and then they don't, or you just don't do anything with it after you've launched and your
Uh,
team never adopts it, and then you don't really hone your prompts and your agent to get it right.
yeah, yeah. I think it is. There's a lot of the confusion and the right way to get going. And a follow up on that? You've obviously done some of your own rollouts. You're helping companies roll it out. Like, how do you think about measurability? Um, like when is one of these agents ready for customer exposure? Like, how do you navigate that divide of getting something going and making sure that you're seeing results and you're seeing success before you maybe move on to the next phase?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really great question. My recommendation, it's really boring. It's planning. Novel concept. What if before you initiated a new tool, you actually had a plan and a vision for what success
Oh,
looked
stop,
like?
stop. That makes too much sense.
Crazy.
That makes too much sense.
I know, but yeah, really, that's what it comes down
Yeah.
to. I think about AI, like at the end of the day, our customers do not care whether we're solving their problems with AI,
Mm,
whether we're doing it on our own. As long as they get the answer and they get on with their day, they don't care.
yeah.
So the best way that CX leaders can think about this is a new tool. It's going to make your lives easier if you do it right. If you
Yeah.
do it wrong, like any other new tool, you're not going to get any use out of it. You're going to waste your money.
I
So
like
what
it.
I always recommend, going back to my roots as like a CSM, is
Right.
thinking through, okay, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to improve with this new technology, and how are you going to measure that benefit?
Mm,
And so at the beginning of the process, you should mark that down, make sure that everyone's on board, make sure you have executive sponsorship for that so that you have the best chance of
um,
adoption and execution, and then make sure that you roll it out to your teams like anything else.
got
You
it.
should measure that progress, that metric along the way. And then at the end of the test period, see, is it better? Is it worse? Was it us? Could we
Hmm,
have done better? And a lot of teams, I find that trust element is really built through internal use of AI. So
yeah.
like agent co-pilots,
Mm,
things that help humans be better at being humans by
yeah.
giving them all kinds of data at their fingertips instead of making them go and hunt.
Hmm,
Those are really they tend to be the kind of like the easy gateways
yeah. I think
into
you're right.
the AI piece. Yeah, and then kind of letting it loose on customers is what we tend to see.
Yeah, no, I think the start small, get the plan. Some of that stuff
Exactly.
sounds easy. It's sometimes in practice a little harder to do, but I like where you're going with it.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
where are some of the places that I mean, again, you guys are implementing a lot of different customers. You're working with different brands. Where are some of the tactical places you'd give to the audience where you feel like AI is winning? And maybe a couple places where you'd say, "Hey, you know what? I wouldn't maybe touch that part of them." I don't know if you've got kind of some places where you see some wins and some places you're seeing brands say, "Ooh, maybe let's not go there."
Yeah, absolutely. So I since kind of this last renaissance of AI, we've had several waves of AI over the
I
years.
know that is so true, right? It's like
It's
I don't know,
so true.
automation and machine learning, but yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And now we're in AI or whatever this is.
Yeah, we're in like the next phase of it. If we one day when we nerd out, I'll go into how the movies have predicted this since the 1950s. We won't do that now. What we're gonna do now is talk about this current wave of
Are you a
AI.
movie person and an AI person? Is that what I'm picking up here or no?
I
No.
was a film theory major in
Oh,
college.
okay. I was like, there's
It's
so many
in
movie
there.
references.
It's in there. I can't help it. But yeah, what I tend to tell companies is that there's not one size fits all.
Mm,
There's a lot of when people think AI, they think bots, but there's so many more applications than that.
Okay.
What I recommend is looking at your business and your customer profile. Is your customer someone who is going to actively embrace AI, or are they going to need a little help? I always think back to the Jennifer Coolidge. I don't know if you all remember the Jennifer Coolidge Super Bowl commercial from a few years ago
Jennifer
when
Coolidge.
it was the Discover commercial. She's sitting on the phone and they're asking her to, prove she's a human. And she's like, I don't know how to do that. And
I do remember. Yeah, what
right.
was that? What happened there? She said, "Oh, that was
She
the Discover." Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
I'm seeing it.
Discover, yeah, and
Yeah.
then the whole point was, Discover was leaning into the fact that they had human agents, and to
Mm,
me, I love that embracing of their
your
customers and
culture.
understanding that
Yeah.
their customers were not ready. I guarantee you, though, Discover was using AI somewhere, and so it's
Mm,
just a great example of, like, you don't have to use bots if you think your customers aren't ready for that, because they will go around it. My friends have told me that at lunch before, and my head exploded because I realize how many companies are pouring millions of dollars into this, and they're not even getting the benefits because their
yeah.
customers haven't been fully embracing it.
Ah,
So my recommendation in those cases is,
mm,
you have these internal co-pilots. You can improve the experience for your agents so that they can improve the experience for your customers. But there's also things like reporting that I have
mm,
personally found really improve with the support of AI. So, for
yeah.
example, remember back in the day when we had to create those fields in our CX platforms for the about category, and then we had to manually fill out so that we could get reporting on what our tickets were about? We don't have to do that anymore because AI can literally just read the sentiment and understand the trends for us in real time.
Mm.
So things like that, you take a report like that to your boss, you're going to look like a rock star. Isn't that what this all about? Looking like a rock star?
I know, that is. We wanna turn people into superheroes, not replace them all the
Exactly.
time. I feel like people immediately jump to the, "Let's replace everybody." I'm like, "What happened just making me better? I suck. Just make me
No.
better," you know?
You don't suck. You do not suck. But
No,
I
but
do agree
I
with the
like the
point.
call out. So that is one, and I think you hit on it, but I wanna maybe just rephrase it a little bit because I think a lot of people are trying to decide, automation, it's such a AI is such a hot topic. It's like, how do you decide what not to automate because it is part of that brand differentiation, that customer. And what I was hearing you kind of say is like that's you gotta figure that out because that is the line, right? If it really is part of your culture, and I like that word brand different, then maybe that's something that shouldn't be automated. That's something that you got to keep near and dear to you and your culture. But if it's not as much, you should be keep your eyes open and see if you can find those elements that could be. Is that did I kind of frame that right?
It was framed perfectly. The thing that it's so interesting because I tend to see startups doing this a lot, and I always advise them. I'm like, don't automate yourself out of your differentiator because
Mm.
I think back to Paul Graham from YC, founder of Y Combinator,
Yeah.
and his advice to his founders was always, you have a differentiation. You are disrupting like an industry that already exists. So if you're doing that, why are you trying to do it in the same way that they're doing it?
Hmm.
If you have the ability to differentiate your offering through some kind of personalization
Yeah.
that a larger enterprise company can't do, you should lean into that. Use automation to figure out how to do that better.
Yeah.
And, honestly, for the last decade plus, I think about all of the customer sentiment that I'm hearing and the customer feedback from consumers that they're expecting us to create a personalized experience for them based on the metadata that they are giving us.
Hmm.
So, think about every single customer survey you've ever heard. What's
Sure.
the number one thing people hate doing is repeating themselves.
Yeah.
So, if you can leverage automation, you can leverage AI to
Mm.
prevent that and make people feel special and heard. Why are you trying to automate that away and
I
automate away
love
that
that. I love that.
humanity?
I
So
love
that's what
that.
I would recommend is, think through maybe your differentiator is not the same now as it will be a few years from now, but really play to your
Mm.
strengths and get that market share.
Yeah, look, that's yeah, that's sometimes we're going towards like replacing maybe CSR, but the
Yep.
biggest complaint is, repetitive information. Why don't we create, some version of a summary or a handoff piece that allows that person to not have to, repeat one, but rather than, sometimes we're tackling
Yep.
the wrong problems. It's like, why don't you tackle that?
Exactly. Or here's a wild idea. What if we leveraged the metadata that we have from our customers and we proactively sent them the answer they needed
Yeah.
exactly when they needed it without them even having to reach out?
Yeah.
So to me, that's the dream of automation is understanding those key points in the customer journey so that it just feels almost magical, like I just knew. And then they're like, oh, they get me. That's the whole goal.
Look, those are some real powerful examples. What do you, what piece of advice? We've hit a bunch of different topics today, but what piece of advice would you give to those that are, maybe just starting this AI journey? There's so many different angles to take, and I know people feel like there's a lot of noise in the market, and there's all these
Yeah.
vendors, and sometimes they just don't even know where to begin. Like, how do you start down this journey for those that are hearing this and really feeling like the angst that they got to get going?
Yeah. The number one thing that I will say, if you don't think of anything else in this conversation, remember that it is happening. And
Yeah.
so the advice that I give to CX leaders is
Mm.
honestly to think like a CIO. The reason that I say that is because as I see the trends, I see where VC funds are going, I see where
Yeah.
AI dollars are going. It's really kind of centralizing within the technology, the CTO, the CIO, the engineering
Yeah.
hubs.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have the purse strings and they're the ones that are literally spending on AI.
Mm.
So it feels a lot of times like, CX orgs are they're given directives to do AI, and then they're like, "What the heck does that mean? I don't know."
Totally. Yeah. I think everybody's getting the directive. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will tell you the answer is the person that told you doesn't know either. So if it, like you owe it to yourself and your personal brand and the personal value that you bring to your job to understand these technologies, have an opinion on them, create use cases around them that go
Mm.
beyond bots, and then be able to tell that story with business outcomes as opposed to just support metrics, which
That's
nobody
good.
else understands.
Yeah.
So that's why CX leaders don't have a seat at the table as much as they could, is because sometimes we're not great at being able to kind of like tell
Speak the
that
language of
story
business.
beyond.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. And then, start thinking of your 12-month plan, your 24-month plan.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't fully integrate AI agents into your customer experience yet, but you sure as heck can
Yeah.
tell your executive team, this is my plan for the future. This is what I'm starting now. I'm leveraging AI to build models, do X, Y, and Z, model this out, get reporting. Next year, I'm going to, incorporate this. I'm going to need this amount of spend. This is going to lower our overhead by this much. It's going to reduce our need to, neutralize customer acquisition costs. Like, doesn't that sound fancy? I'm not saying anything, but doesn't it sound really fancy? Like a CIO would want to know that.
Hmm. Hmm. I think that's probably pretty close to true, actually. So, wow. All right. I think that, I mean, that ROI justification is,
Right.
it's something I think we've got to continue to do. And the thing is, it helps actually get the project approved, but also it helps you understand, I think, that plan you were talking about a little bit.
Absolutely. And what I will say also, like, if anyone needs an AI agent, I know a place they can get them. But even beyond that, understanding the underlying technologies, what is OpenAI versus Gemini versus Claude? What are they good at? Knowing those, having an opinion on that, that's really what's going to set you apart and help your team get the resources they need. So, like a small example of that, your the rest of your organization doesn't care if your AI agent increased your CSAT by 2 points.
Yeah.
That means nothing to them. But if you can help explain to your engineering team, to your chief technology officer, that when you leveraged a particular LLM that was less expensive in this use case to do these things, you were able to save the company X%. So you're going to need to build this off of this LLM versus this one.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of conversations that get you a seat at the table because people understand you know what you're talking
It
about.
matters. No, I love it. I love it. Interesting. Well, Sam, I'm sure you could keep going for sure, but we do
We
need
could
to
both
probably
keep
wrap
going.
here.
We could talk about all kinds of
No,
stuff.
it's fun catching up. Exciting things I think you guys are doing over there. So congratulations. If someone wants to connect with you, dive into this a little more, learn about customer, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, well, I'm easy to find. Find me on LinkedIn, Sam Chandler. You can go to customer.com and we will tell you all about our AI capabilities. But yeah, I would love to connect with anybody, answer any questions. I'm happy to do so. Thank you so
Cool.
much again, Gabe, for having me.
100%. Again, thanks for the time for the audience. Have a fantastic day.